You joined the Philadelphia, not Philadelphia,
Trailblazers.
Portland Trailblazers. How was that transition from the draft process to the first game in the NBA?
It was easy for me because I wasn't going to a team that needed me to carry the team. I was going to a team that was 1 year removed from the NBA championship. And they had a bunch of veterans on the team like Maurice Lucas,
Yep.
Lloyd Neal, Lionel Hollins, all these guys who won a championship.
Right.
And of course, through some kind of trade mechanisms, Portland ended up with the third pick in the draft. And then they traded that third pick and another player to move up to the first pick. So I went to a team that was ready made, that was already a playoff solid team, and that was competing with Kareem and the Lakers back then. So it was easy for me to make that transition because I could just blend in with all the veterans, established veterans on the team. So I wasn't like I had to go to Portland and carry that team. So I just listened to whatever Maurice Lucas told me to do, and I still had to go there and do my job. But it wasn't on me every night to put up 25 points every night to carry the team. That wasn't my responsibility. My responsibility was just to blend in and don't disrupt things, which was a real easy transition to do.
Why was your humility so high as an NBA player? Because in 2021, the egos are so high. You said follow Maurice Lucas. You probably could have took big money not to go play with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Well, it's from my humble beginnings, from the way my father brought us up, teaching us Christian beliefs. We're not better than anyone else just because we're famous or we're making a lot more money than anyone else. We're the same as everybody else, whether it's a maid in a hotel or the richest man in town or whatever you do in life. We're all the same. We're all going to stand before God and be judged the same way. Wow. And I can't stand it when people have a lot of money or a lot of fame and they show it off or they use it to belittle people or put themselves above people. I can't stand that. And I see that today in the NBA from players. It really irks me when I see players ignore people because they know they're famous and they don't give people the time of day when people just want to say hello to them or get their autograph. They just walk by them and ignore them. I go, don't you remember when you were a kid and you were looking up to Magic and those guys, and you just wanted them to say hi to you? So I was always brought up to treat everybody the same because we are all the same, no matter what we do in life. We're not better than anyone else, no matter what our color is, our race is, our gender. We're all the same, and you respect everybody no matter what they do or where they are in life.
Beautiful. How was your experience in Portland?
Loved it. Portland's a beautiful city. It is it is the most, I think, I always tell people in California this too, it's the prettiest part of America, the Pacific Northwest.
Really?
Oh yeah, the mountains, the greenery, the trees, the forests, the rivers, waterfalls, the volcanoes. I know it rains a lot up there, but that rain turns everything green and fresh. The air up there is pure and fresh. It is a beautiful. The scenery is just beautiful, and everything up there is really close knit. Like Portland was a real close knit city. Everything was close. You can get somewhere in 15 minutes. So It's even though it's a big city, it's kind of a small city. And Portland being the only professional team in town, they really adopted us up there as family, the Portland Trailblazer players. And they do that today for Damian Lillard and all these guys up there now. They treat them as if they're neighbors and friends. And they have that close-knit community up there in that city. And I love living up there. I didn't want to leave, even though I ended up with the LA Lakers, which I was very thankful for. I was hoping I'd play my whole career in Portland. And even after I retired, I spent another 15 years up there, living up there with my family. I moved back to Portland. A lot of former Trailblazers do that. After they retire, they stay in the Portland area because it's such a nice area to live in.
And that's how you developed a great relationship with Kevin Love, right?
Yeah. My boys grew up with Kevin Love in Lake Oswego, just 6-7 miles south of Portland in the same area. And they played baseball together, basketball together. So, that's how Kevin Love and my boys would hang out on the weekends after their baseball or basketball games, and just being together. So, yeah, he was a good kid growing up.
Yeah, I would see them a lot in LA, just hanging out and stuff, especially between the Drew League and at the time it was the what was the high school league too? I forget but it's dissolved since. But yeah. And you also played with Clyde Drexler in Portland.
Yeah, Clyde Drexler was drafted by us in 1984, I believe. I think it was.
Sure, out of Houston.
85, right? 80. No, let's see. When was Drexler? Drexler was drafted in 83. That's right. And he was the reason why, I shouldn't say this because people will get mad at Clyde. Clyde was the reason why we didn't draft Michael Jordan, because Blazer management and coaching staff thought, well, we already have Clyde Drexler, so we don't need to draft Jordan. How about that? Oof, I still get chills when I think about what could have been if we had Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler. Oh my goodness. So they figured, well, we already got Clyde, so to take over the guard position, the wing position, so we'll go big, and they got Sam Bowie, who's a heck of a player, just that he couldn't stay healthy. But Sam could have been a multiple-time All-Star, but he just could not stay healthy. And no, he would have never justified being drafted over Michael Jordan. But Sam Bowie was no bust. He could play. 7'2", could shoot threes, could run the floor, could block shots, had post-up game. He could do it all. Just that he broke his leg and just could not stay healthy. And he would have helped us tremendously if he'd had a nice 10 or 12 or 15-year career up there. But when I got drafted up there, man, and Clyde Drexler came on as a teammate. I remember Clyde came in. We were in Houston playing the Rockets down there, and Clyde was still in college. And I saw him in the stands, and of course we all knew who he was. And he was sort of like hanging out in the back in the hallway leading to our locker room. And I saw him there because he came to the game. And I said, "Hey, Clyde, come on, man, come back here. Come in the locker room with us." So I took him in the back. Wow. And he was just, I think he was a sophomore, I think. And I told Jack Ramsey, I said, "Jack, this is Clyde Drexler, University of Houston. Jack, we need to draft this kid." This is like the year he was going to come out. I said, "Jack, we got to get him." And Clyde lasted until the 14th pick in the draft, if you remember. And we drafted him. And of course, you redid that draft now. Clyde would probably go 1 or 2 in that draft. He was that great. But boy, I was so happy to get him. And he was a special player. He could do it all. He wasn't as good as Michael Jordan or Kobe, but he was awful close. Clyde could do it all.
Did y'all joke about that at times between you and Clyde? Man, we could have been playing Michael Jordan. Yeah.
I always tell, Clyde, it's no fault of yours, but you cost us Michael Jordan, Because, as a matter of fact, I told that to Magic Johnson when I was with the Lakers, Magic, Byron, and Coop. We sit in the locker room and we'd argue. I said, "Guys, think about this. If we could have had Michael Jordan and Clyde. Let's say Clyde was a small forward. We could have had Michael Jordan, Fat Lever. Remember Fat Lever? Yeah. Oh man, he could play. Fat Lever played for us in Portland, and he played for Denver. And he was like a triple-double point guard.
Him and Michael Adams in Denver, yeah.
Yeah, for Denver. We could have had a backcourt, basically a backcourt trio of Fat Lever, Michael Jordan, and Clyde Drexler. So I told Magic, Byron Scott. Now let me ask you: Jordan, Drexler, Fat Lever, or Magic, Michael Cooper, Byron Scott? Which backcourt you taking?
Oh, I'm taking Portland's. Easy.
I know. And I told that to Magic and Michael Cooper and Byron. They told me to go bleep myself, They say, "You kidding me?" They still thought they would beat. I said, "Guys, if we would have drafted Jordan, I think the Lakers still would have won a championship or 2, but I don't think they would have won 5.
Oh,
because it would have been going back and forth between them and the Blazers for obviously for Western Conference superiority. And sure enough, we would beat them sometimes, even though they still had Kareem and Jamal Wilkes and eventually James Worthy and people like that. But man, if we had Jordan, just think how different the history of the NBA would be. And instead of Chicago having all those rings, the Blazers would have all those rings.
Right. And the draft orders would have been different because y'all would have won more games. So no one would. The Lakers may not have been in position to draft Worthy. You get what I'm saying?
They drafted Worthy. They ended up with Worthy because of a previous trade that somehow ended up being Worthy when the time came. That's how it ended up. It wasn't like they were so bad that they were able to get the number 1 pick and get Worthy. It's because they did a previous trade years before that turned out where Worthy, they got the number 1 pick when Worthy was coming out of school. So it was perfect timing for the Lakers.
And since you talked about, I know the co-hosts want to talk about this. I want to save this. I'll save it for him because I know he's a big LA guy and he loves Kobe. So I'll leave it there. So